Hi everybody, my name is Jacob Vercel and I'm a tour guide here in Israel. I'm often asked, what books do I recommend people read before they come to Israel, while they're in Israel, or after they come back home and they want to better understand the places they've seen and been. So this video, I'm going to recommend 10 books which I think are really worth reading. And of course, I'm going to start with the Bible. Now this is the translation called the ESV, the English Standard Version. I don't use this when I guide, actually. I use the New King James because I like the poetry, the language better. But for accuracy, translating from the Hebrew, especially when you're reading Old Testament, I recommend the ESV. But what if you are Jewish and you want the Hebrew next to it? Well, this is the one I recommend. This is of course, the Jewish Publication Society Tanakh. This has the English and the Hebrew. You can see it has the English and the Hebrew next to it, and I really think that this is a good. I really think this is a good book to use. I have a Tanakh when I'm traveling. I use an app, but for study at home, this is the one I reach for. So this is the book I recommend. This is the JPS version, and there is a newer one out, but you can look at Amazon. You can get it. I recommend it. There are other Bibles out there that really I don't know where they're what they're basing themselves on, but the Hebrew Bible, this one, the Jewish Publication Society, is based on the Hebrew is the Masoretic text, which is based on, of course, the oldest Bible we have, except for the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's called the Aleppo Codex, and that is the one that the great Rabbi Maimonides Rambam said to use. So that's the one I recommend. And my next book is going to be a bit of a surprise for you because it's written by Mark Twain, and it's called The Innocents Abroad. Now, The Innocents Abroad is Twain's first book. It's actually a collection of travelogues he was a newspaper reporter, and he was sent by his newspaper in San Francisco on a Christian pilgrimage in 1867. And it was really the first modern pilgrimage of that time. And I really, really recommend this book. It is fascinating. He talks about going to Europe. He's in France in 1867. He goes through Greece. He goes through to Rome, Turkey, down to the land of Israel. An amazing, amazing book. Really, really recommend it. Because it's interesting, for instance, when I'm guiding, I actually take this, you can see I've got it bookmarked here. And when I'm guiding, I read from this book because you can really see how the country was in absolute ruin under the Turks in 1867. So The Innocents Abroad is one I really recommend. My next one is a great book to read, and that is, of course, James Michener's The Source. The Source is a book that it's a novel, and it takes you through a journey in time in the land of Israel from Neolithic times, from 7,000 years ago, more or less to the present day. The book was published in 1960, I believe, 61, and Michener is talking about a site which is a combination of two very, very, very famous biblical sites, Megiddo and Hatzor. He kind of combines them into one, calls it Hamakor, which of course means the source. Okay, so The Source by James Michener, a great read. I also have this downloaded on my Kindle. By the way, you can download all these books on your Kindle. I have this downloaded on my Kindle. I actually read from it when I'm at Megiddo. So James Michener, The Source, very much worth reading. My next book is a little bit heavy. It is The Source. It is The Jewish Wars by Josephus Flavius. There you go, Josephus. Josephus is an historian, and he lived through the Jewish wars. So reading this book you have to read it with a grain of salt, because remember, he's the official court historian of the Roman Emperor, a guy named Flavius. So he is Vespasian Flavius, the Flavian emperor, who essentially is the general destroying Judea, destroying the land of Israel, is made emperor. And Josephus is sort of our Benedict Arnold. He's a general in command of the northern part of Israel, in command of the Galilee. And when he loses a famous battle at a place called the Yodfat, he goes over to the Romans and essentially becomes their man, but always remains to be a proud Jew. Interesting book. The only record we have of Masada is from this book. So I recommend those of you who've been to Masada, want to go to Masada. This is a must-have. It's of course I read from this book here when I'm guiding at Masada. What about a general guidebook? What if you want to read when you're going on your own? Shame on you not taking a tour guide, but a general tour book, the Four Doors Guide. I recommend the Four Doors Guide. The Four Doors Guide is really, really the one worth having. It's called The Essential Israel, I think the newest one. And get the book. Don't put it on a tablet or anything. It's good to have a book just to have the physical book on you. If you're traveling around in Israel without a tour guide, or you want to plan a tour, this is a very, very helpful aid. So the Four Doors Guide I really recommend. Next is a book I don't have, so I'm going to have to go to the computer and call up what this book looks like. And this is of course the book by Simon Sebag Montefiore, Jerusalem, the Biography. I really recommend this book, Jerusalem Biography. I'm going to get myself a little back in the picture there. Jerusalem, the Biography is a great book to have. It tells the story of Jerusalem through the ages. Very entertaining. The guy is a serious historian. He's a professor at Oxford of History. And I just can't recommend this book. I really like this book. So Jerusalem, a Biography by Simon Sebag Montefiore. Okay, let's put the computer to sleep and let us continue about our books. The next book I want to talk about is this book. This is by Lior Ravid, Daily Life. Let me get it here because I hit Daily Life in Biblical Times. This is one of my favorite books. This book is definitely on my top 3. Daily Life in Biblical Times lets you read. We're talking about the Hebrew Bible, the Jewish Bible, what some people call the Old Testament, and it explains things through the sensibilities of people back then, not through modern eyes. For instance, Jacob, my namesake, laboring for Rachel. He doesn't labor for 7 years, guys. It's an expression. It means he labored for a long time. It doesn't literally mean 7 years. Just because it says in the Bible, it doesn't mean that those who were reading the Bible at that time will understand that it's a euphemism. Okay, so I really recommend reading Daily Life in Biblical Times. Lior Ravid, she's a fantastic writer. She writes daily, or she writes vlogs in Hebrew. They're absolutely fantastic. This is her book translated into English. Really, really a keeper. Okay, so Lior Ravid. Now for something completely different and a little bit. We stand divided. We stand divided by the Jewish writer Daniel Gordis. He has won the Jewish National Book Award. It talks about the divide and the ever-widening divide between American Jewry and Israelis. I really think this is a book that every American Jew should read. I think it's a book that every Israeli should read. And it talks about the real gulf, and I think it's an ever-widening gulf between Israelis and American Jews. We really need each other. We really do. And I'm not just talking about economically. Thank God, we've got a very strong economy. We're going to pull through this, I think, pretty strongly. But it's more than that. So I recommend reading Daniel Gordis, We Stand Divided, talking about, especially if those of you who want to understand politics today and don't quite understand why American Jews vote the way they do, this book really helps a lot and explains a lot. I think it's worth reading. Okay, so let's get back to a book I'd like to recommend for my Christian friends, and not just my Christian friends, but especially to my evangelical friends. This is a book called Windows to the Bible. It's written by a Christian pastor, Mark Turnage. Mark is also trains tour guides. He has a company that takes Christian groups to Israel. He wrote this book. This is really, I think, a fantastic book to have. Those of you who want to understand your Bible better, this book, Windows to the Bible by Mark Turnage, highly recommend it, and that's my number 9. My number 10, of course, is this one. Gee, I wonder who wrote it. Yeah, this is my book. Yeah, there I am. My book, Go to Galilee. It's in its second edition. The second edition came out last month. And the timing couldn't be better, right? Wow. So, guys, if you can't come, you won't be coming to Israel probably for the next half a year. We're hoping that by Hanukkah, Christmas time, flights will be renewed and you'll be able to come to Israel from other places. So I really recommend Go to Galilee is a book I very much recommend. Obviously, it's my book. I'm going to have links down where you can get the books. Don't get it from Amazon because I haven't sent Amazon my new editions yet. You can order this book through my website at guideinisrael.com. I'm going to put the link down. All the other books you can get on Amazon.com. But this one, the old edition is on Amazon. I haven't sent my new one. So thanks a lot for listening to me. I hope that we'll be able to see each other soon. I'm just hoping I can get to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv soon. But till then, guys, stay inside, stay safe, wash those hands. Take care. To my Christian friends, have a joyous Easter, everybody. Bye till now. I'll have another video out in about a week. Take care. Bye-bye.